Hi, I'm John, and welcome back to Dice Paper Miniatures. In this episode, I kick off a new series I'm working on that's featuring each of the 18 legions that players can play in the upcoming Warhammer the Horus Heresy. Now, the framework I'm using for this series is basically looking at what the Warhammer community is presenting in each of these 18 articles. The lore, the general look and feel of the legion, and of course, its rule mechanics that they're willing to tease at this point. And then maybe down the road, I might have a follow-up as to how accurate I think that these articles presented each of the individual legions. But that would be a series for another time. All right, so again, that's the premises or framework for this series. I'm really excited to get started. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at the goodest of boys. That's right, the Space Wolves. All right, let's begin. Well, if you didn't think the Dark Angels were the bestest of boys, apparently GW thinks that the Space Wolves are. All right, so like I said, here we are with the Space Wolves. And I gotta be honest, I think it's hard to argue, probably at any given point in time, if you've played 40K long enough, at some point you probably tried out playing Space Wolves. They're cool looking in general. It's got a lot of flavor, and especially if you like the Norse theme in your games, I mean, this is your go-to faction. I kind of feel like the things that appeal to me as a White Scars like fan also appeals to me as a Space Wolves fan. Maybe not like totally identical play styles, but there's a similar vibe there that I like. With that said, the article goes on, do you love Space Marines? Then you'll want to join the legion that exemplifies their transhuman fury and brutal purpose. Do you hate Space Marines? Then you'll want to join the legion that was killing them long before the Horus Heresy, serving as the Emperor's own executioners. Dogs, let slip the wolves of war. Yeah, something like that. If you were impressed by some noisy biker gang, oof. It's high time you learned what real spacefaring savages look like. Spacefaring Vikings. Get it right. That's right. Our unbiased guide to the Legiones Astartes can finally take a look at the goodest legion of all, the Space Wolves. Those might be some fighting words there, but cool art. I mean, there's a part of me that's like, there's no point in even really like weighing the pros and cons of other factions. You go Space Vikings and you just have some beer and there you go. That's your game for the night. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. So the 6th Legion was born to be wild. While other legions plodded through the daily grind, these ferocious hunter-killers were the Emperor's literal attack dogs. He might have designed all the Primarchs to be perfect, i.e. in his image, but there's always a chance, just a small one, that a legion of highly strung genetic supermen might go off the rails. It was up to the Space Wolves to clean up these little upsets. Some remembrancers might claim they're why this series has only 18 articles and not 20. We couldn't possibly comment. Yeah, that's true. Every legion has its quirks, whether by accident or design, but the Space Wolf boasts more obvious alterations than most. Enhanced senses and reflexes, all the better to hear you with. Intense aggression and thickened hair, all the better to shout you down. Big old canine fangs, all the better to, well, you get it. Yeah, they definitely, they got a cool werewolf thing going on too. I should comment, the Primarch model, it's badass. It's kind of like a Thor on steroids, minus the beard, of course. Yeah, obvious Viking, space Viking for sure. The only real problem the 6th Legion has ever had is deciding what to call themselves. Are they the Rout, Vilka, the Fenrika, the Sky Warriors, or just the Space Wolves? Space Vikings, come on. Actually, that might be their second biggest problem. There's another tiny issue, barely worth mentioning, that sometimes their already mutated gene seed metastasizes and transforms them into hairy, frothing berserkers that are more beasts than men. Yeah, that's a thing, I guess, you know. I think when I was younger, that kind of almost baby blue color armor was kind of a turnoff. I kind of liked the more it leaned more into a gray aesthetic. But as I've gotten older, yeah, it doesn't quite bother me as much. I mean, you could arguably just say it has that sheen of blue because of, their home world, they're Norse, they're cold. It's just like everything's frost covered. Sure. Okay, the rules. The Space Wolves are tireless predators who specialize in furious infantry shock assaults, exploiting their speed and ferocity to overwhelm enemy formations with close range fire fights, and then move in for the kill. Frankly, if you can't kill it with a bolt gun and blade, is it even worth fighting? Legit question. Legit question. Bestial savagery. So here we go into their reactions and advanced reactions. So a unit made up entirely of models with the infantry unit type in the Legiones Astartes Space Wolves special rule that chooses to run in the movement phase may still make a shooting attack in the shooting phase and declare a charge in the assault phase of the same term. That's almost bullshit. Holy crap. But any shooting attacks made in the same turn as that in which a unit with this special rule has run are made a snapshot. So yeah, there's probably, a penalty to the shot. But still, being able to run and charge or run and shoot, that's great. That's fantastic. It goes on. Units that cannot run, such as the Legion Cataphractii Terminators, or models that do not have the vehicle or infantry unit type, instead gain a +1 weapon skill. Okay, on any turn in which they successfully charge, even if that charge is considered disordered. Models with the vehicle unit type and the special rule that make ram attacks increase the strength of any hits inflicted as part of that attack by +1 to a maximum of 10. Honestly, so far on the surface, that is by far, I think, one of the stronger abilities that we've seen in a Legion. Yeah, that's pretty freaking good. Like a pack of overeager huskies. Oh shit. Like a pack of overeager huskies, these brutes barrel into their enemies, colliding with an eagerness that borders on the sadistic. This bestial savagery overwhelms most foes, giving the victorious Space Wolves plenty of epic combat yarns to spin at their post-battle celebrations. Yeah. Of course, sometimes your prey isn't so eager to flee, particularly when their preening, finely dressed leaders are standing around barking orders. Fortunately, the Emperor's executioners have plenty of experience decapitating enemy forces. If your warlord's a crown breaker, he'll find it easy to take out enemy characters, whether hacking them up or gunning them down, and shrug off grievous wounds to claim the glory of a melee kill. Okay, even better, his buddies get the same benefit. Holy crap. Okay, so crown breaker. The warlord and all models in any unit he has joined gain the preferred enemy, in parentheses, independent character special rule. Those models also gain the Feel No Pain 5+ special rule when locked in combat with one or more enemy models with the independent character special rule. Okay, in addition, an army whose warlord has this trait may make an additional reaction in the opposing player's movement phase so long as the warlord has not been removed as a casualty. Like all the win buttons. Okay. There's a reason why not only do these models look sexy, but everyone likes to play Space Wolves. Admittedly, in 40k, I don't think they're necessarily an OP chapter, but I feel like they seem pretty strong so far with Horus Heresy. The superstitious sons of Fenris loathe psychic sorcery and would obviously never fight alongside a librarian witch. Fortunately, they can call on the eminently wise casters of the runes to harness the elemental power of their home world's heart. Oh, jeez. It's the same thing. Shrouding their brothers in howling storms. No witchcraft here, no sir. Exactly. If only Magnus could have been so sensible. Magnus being the Primarch of the Thousand Suns, who the Space Wolves had to basically go wreck on their home world of Prospero. Yeah, that's some lore. You can check that out later. Stormwrought psychic powers. Nope, not psychers at all. Instead of making a shooting attack, the controlling player of a psyker with this psychic power may select a single friendly unit with at least one model within 6 inches of the psyker that is composed entirely of models with the infantry, cavalry, or dreadnought unit types. The chosen unit gains the Shrouded 5+ special rule until the beginning of the controlling player's next shooting phase. Okay. More, please. When using this power, the controlling player may choose to have the psyker take a psychic check. If the check is passed, then the effect is improved to Shrouded 3+. Oh, yeah. If the check is failed, the Shrouded 5+ special rule is applied to the target unit, and the psyker suffers perils of the warp. Okay. I mean, such a drawback. Such a drawback. That's pretty good. Now, admittedly, how many psychers or casters of the runes are you going to have in your army? Probably not a ton. But if you do, you're definitely going to make a unit or two, like seriously a handful to deal with for the opponent. Then again, it could just be kind of like it sounds good on paper, but it's a total red herring. Let me know in the comments below what you think. So here's another shot of the Primarch Layman Russ and the homeworld Fenris. Yeah. It's a sweet model. Plenty of legions had some friction with their newfound Primarchs, not so with Layman Russ, a warrior king perfectly suited to his fearsome sons. Spirited away from the Emperor's labs along with his brothers, Russ found himself on the icy death world of Fenris, where he was raised by wolves, learning essential family values like loyalty to the pack, persistence on the hunt, and the polite time to sniff strangers. Oof, trying to avoid political comments there. All right. In time, the wolf child encountered his first actual humans. The Russ tribe managed to placate the Primarch, possibly using a squeaky toy. Oh, brother. And he was adopted by their king. He soon rose to become a legendary ruler whose saga made its way to the ears of the Emperor, still searching for his lost sons. The master of mankind headed straight to Fenris, but Russ refused to bow to a stranger until the Emperor issued a challenge. First, Russ beat the Emperor in an eating competition. Then, Russ beat the Emperor in a drinking contest. At this point, the Emperor lost his temper. The two had a brawl that left Layman out cold. But he still claimed the moral victory. Oh, and his headache after the fight was totally due to all the meat he drank, not because he was punched in the face by the strongest psyker in the galaxy. Russ had few friends among his brothers. It might have been the primitive traditions, the barely veiled death threats, or just jealousy over his incredible mane. The Wolf King didn't much care and actively played up his barbaric ways. People tend to underestimate you when they think you're just a drunken brute. Other than Horus, his best bro is probably Lionel Johnson. After the two rivals beat each other to a pulp, that's a Fenris friendship, baby. Okay. So yeah, here's a shot of that, the Space Wolves going out against the Thousand Suns. As you might expect, it was the Space Wolves who drew first blood against a traitor legion. In fact, they managed to claim victory before their opponents had even turned traitor. You gotta nip these things in the bud. In a different life, the jock Layman Russ and the nerd Magnus the Red might have been best friends, sharing an apartment, reveling in each other's idiosyncrasies, and learning a few life lessons along the way. Sadly, this wasn't to be, and after Magnus broke his dad's favorite chair, Russ was dispatched to bring him in too. Totally a proportionate justice. Yeah, just kind of decimated the planet. Okay, even faced with the mightiest defenses of Prospero, the Space Wolves easily swept aside the dweebs of the 15th Legion and burned their forbidden libraries to the ground. Only fell magic saved Magnus's life. That's a pretty slick paint job. I dig that tribal pattern on his shin pad too. I do like the fact that they go with a little bit more of a grungier paint style with the Horus Heresy. It's a little, I don't know if it's necessarily photorealistic, but yeah, things are muted, a little grungier. I guess you could say grim dark, but not totally grim dark per se, but just more real. Bloodied and bruised by their early battle against the Thousand Suns, the Space Wolves were left on the back foot when the Horus Heresy truly erupted. The War Master had absolutely no intention of letting these dogs off the leash and dispatched the Alpha Legion to ambush Layman Russ out in the Alexis Nebula, where he joined forces with a contingent of Dark Angels to fight his way back to Terra. Russ was never one to sit around and soon decided it was up to him to deck Horus in the schnoz. The Wolf King even grappled with some seriously spooky powers in search of an edge. Magnus would have been proud. Though juiced up on chaos, the War Master proved no match for his feral brother in single combat. Unfortunately, Russ knew how excited everyone was about the siege of Terra and didn't want people to miss out on the epic saga. He pulled his punches and the judges called it a draw. I guess that's one way of putting it. That's funny. So a little more lore here. During the Horus Heresy, the Space Wolves sent watch packs to other legions to keep an eye on their Primarchs, just in case they turned against the Emperor. A single squad against a Primarch doesn't feel like a fair fight. You'd need more Primarchs. See how Gilliman's watch pack got on in the Unremembered Empire. For an earlier look at the 6th Legion during the Great Crusade, you can learn how the great rivalry between the Space Wolves and the Dark Angels began in Layman Russ, the Great Wolf. And then we have another painting guide, of course, for your Space Wolves. So another very flavorful chapter, in my opinion. I put these guys and the White Scars basically at the same, like, just cool factor. The paint schemes, the iconography, the look of their Primarchs are super cool. Again, I just wish they would have gone a little bit more Mongolian looking like the artwork shows for Jagatai Khan. You can always do some green stuff modifications to dial it in, of course, too. And frankly, I kind of wish they would have had like a beard on Layman Russ. I know it would have looked way like Thor, but screw it. But yeah, I would say probably this is going to be a fairly competitive army. Probably not the most complicated of rule sets as far as their reaction and advanced reaction abilities go. The floor is probably not all that low. Arguably, the ceiling may not all be that high either. It's probably just a good jack of all trades, solid Legion to go with. It's a good, I definitely think it's a good beginner's friendly Legion for sure. You can have a lot of fun with it from a hobby standpoint, as well as this, it has some competitive opportunities as well. It's definitely straightforward, more so than not. And it does offer some flexibility, unlike the White Scars, where I think they really try to pigeonhole you into going with the biker route on vehicles. You get like perks being on foot, as well as perks being on vehicles with the Space Wolves. Without knowing what the point costs are on the bikes and just how important, probably having extra movement based on the movement of the bikes, probably the White Scars are going to play a little bit more objective oriented, where the Space Wolves will just be more killy oriented. But they definitely both kind of favor arguably more of a hit and run and close combat assault tactics more so than shooting. But the fact that the Space Wolves can run and still do a shoot or a charge, you don't need bikes if you can just literally run across the map in basically what would feel like a single turn. But that's a bit of an exaggeration, but that would be what would feel like from the opponent's perspective, I think. So what do you think? Is this a Legion that speaks to you? What are some of the pros you think of it? What are some of the cons that you think of it? Am I completely off basis by thinking this would be a fairly competitive Legion in the new version of the game? Let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate that. And if you've liked this content and haven't subscribed yet, definitely consider doing so, hitting that notification bell, and sharing this content with your friends. It really does help with the growth of the channel, and it's greatly appreciated. And as I mentioned in some of these other Legion videos, this is part of a series, so if you haven't yet, please consider checking out one of those other ones and providing some comment and feedback on those as well. I've pretty much at this point in time have made my decision on what legion I'm going to go with as at least my primary legion, but I'm definitely considering a secondary legion as a backup if I have a friend that comes over and they don't have a legion and they want to play the game or learn how to play the game. I don't think it hurts to have a second legion, other than it's going to cost a buttload, in my opinion, because it's GW and it's going to be a lot of models, but assuming budget's not an issue, I'm still trying to figure out what that secondary army is. So that's where you come in for sure on that feedback. So anyways, with that said, again, thank you for checking this one out. And as always, I hope you're doing well. Be safe, take care, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye.